heading into this game, having lost 8 out of our last 9 games, safe to say things are pretty flat. It's hard to get yourself up for football as a fan, as a player, no matter what sort of scenario you're in. Um, with a losing streak like that, and it's tough, especially with the injuries you've had piling on. Which that's a conversation for another day. It's a whole other video essentially. Looking into what's gone wrong there with all the injuries we're copying at the moment, but that's like I said, a conversation for another day. It's it's hard. It's hard to get up for these ones, but I think that these are the games where when everything's so far against you that you want to get up for these ones because if something miraculous happens, then and you're not there or you're not supporting or you're not ready for it. It's just you feel like you're on the back foot. So I feel like these are the games that you need to get yourself up for the most, rather than the easy kills, which we don't really have anymore in AFL. But you know what I'm getting at with that. So yeah, I don't know. I think let's try and, as a supporter base, obviously I can't speak to the players or the coaching group or anyone like that, but as a supporter base, let's try and get up as much as we can for these big games. Obviously, we've got a tough fixture the first half of the year. And this week against Sydney is no different. So let's talk about the game. We'll start with the ins and outs. And again, I want to start with, I think it was on Twitter, and I saw this as well or heard this as well on the Richmond Talking Tigers podcast. We've got more forced changes this week, and we've already played with, I think it was 32 different players this season alone, and this is our fourth game we're heading into. And to put that into perspective, in 2020 we played with 33 in total for the whole season. So it does go to show how consistency with your list and the side you put out every week can make a massive difference. And I'm not saying if we had a consistent team we'd be 4-3-0 or 4-0 after this week or whatever, but it doesn't help. It definitely, makes things a lot harder for us. So we'll get into it. Like I said, with the ins, we've got Morris Rioli, Nathan Broad, Tyler Sonzi, which I'm rapt about. I think he's been waiting for his opportunity for a little bit now, or another opportunity. And Tyler Young comes back in from the concussion he suffered against the Blues. So that's great news. And going out, Dylan Grimes and Dustin Martin, the late outs, or late outs, they happen throughout the week, but probably the more unexpected ones. Dylan Grimes with a wrist injury, Dustin Martin with a sore calf soreness, calf awareness, whatever you want to say. Bad timing with the AFL drugs policy news that's dropped this year or dropped this week. Sorry. So terrible timing. I'm not buying into it, but terrible timing. And then we've got Jody Clark omitted and James Trezise injured with an ankle. So, not to mention Kane McAuliffe, who we've all been screaming for to get an opportunity. Sammy Naismith and Hugo Ralph Smith are all emergencies at this stage. Personally, I wouldn't mind seeing Naismith come back into the team. I just think we need another tall marking option up along the wing when we're coming out of the back 50. I would love to see that. But in saying that, Kane McAuliffe has definitely deserved his spot. He's been dominating in the practice matches in the VFL. He had a really good round one. I don't know what else he has to do to get his spot and earn his spot. And at the moment, like I said, with Dusty out obviously this week, and we've also got Hopper out at the moment. Graham's still out, not coming back for his spot. So we've got opportunities, and let's try and give these kids games. And I don't think he's necessarily going to be one of those kids that you put in and might set you back. I think he honestly could help drive us forward. So let's put McAuliffe in. That's what I want to see. I know a lot of people will be messaging me saying they want to see it. So I wonder how that'll play out. And look, again, looking for any sorts of glimmers of hope heading into this game. Sydney were 1-4 at the G last season, and we were one of the teams that they lost to. So they're not necessarily the greatest team at the G. Obviously, the Sydney we've seen so far this year compared to what we had last year, they're almost two different sides. Not player wise, but just the way that they're playing the game. They look a lot better this season. And granted, we did beat them in the rain last year, which obviously helps Richmond a lot. So probably not going to buy into it too much, but there's just a little fact there for you. Look, and I think in recent weeks, we've been pretty good in stoppages. We beat Carlton on the inside. I'm pretty sure we beat Port Adelaide last week on the inside as well, but where we've been killed is on the outside. We're too slow to transition, and even coming back the other way, we're not switched on, and we're not using the ball well enough on the outside, and that's really killing us, and that's where we're turning the ball over, and where we're making it really easy for the opposition to hurt us. So we've really got to lift there. And I know I said it in the Port review video, but we really have to lift our pressure. Our pressure has been shocking this year. Against Port, it was the lowest it's been since 2015. And Sydney are just going to absolutely eat us alive if we don't apply any sorts of pressure. Errol Goulden is one of the best players in the game at the moment. And, I know we've traditionally never done it, and we haven't done it so far this year, and that's tagging. But do we have to? Do we have to bite the bullet and say, we're not going to do it every week, but we're going to do it when we think we could get eaten alive? And, we saw Butters do it in the third quarter to us last week. Errol Goulden could potentially have a field day against us with the way he uses the football. He's one of the better players in the competition right now. Some people's Brownlow favorites. Excuse the heavy machinery going on outside there. But do we look at tagging him? I don't know who goes to him. I don't know who plays that role. That's for people a bit more intelligent than myself. But do we do it? They've got Warner. They've got Heaney, who are also, killing it at the moment. Heaney obviously playing more midfield time. Where are we going to stop the flow? I don't know. I don't know if that's a tag or what we do, but we're going to have to find something because, like I said, they'll chop us up otherwise. In terms of Sydney scoring, they've had a lot of impact from their smaller players like your Heaney's and your Papley, who do both run through the middle but can also drift forward and kick your goals as well. I feel like their bigs haven't made as much of an impact just yet in terms of McDonald and the Amadi Party there. He hasn't had, or they both haven't had a massive impact just yet. Again, that's not to say they can't or they won't, but I think having Tyler Young back in the team does help a lot, as well as Nathan Broad, who so missed last week. So I'm absolutely stoked that Broady's back. But we'll have to see how that goes. Again, we're gonna have to watch these small guys. I feel like they could do a number on us if we're not careful. And again, I think this game, it's, obviously it's probably a bit more than this, but I think if we're trying to simplify it as much as possible, it's going to come down to Sydney's kicking game, and especially on the outside, like I mentioned earlier, their ball use is so clean. It makes ours look pretty bad, to be honest. So it's going to be their kicking game versus our inside game, which has been great lately. So I think if we can get on the upper end of that, it's going to give us every chance. It's going to be a tough game regardless. Easter Sunday, it's the 4 o'clock time slot again, the graveyard shift, as some like to call it. Thankfully, we have Monday off the next day, so doesn't make it feel as much of a graveyard shift as it normally would, but it's not a great time slot. I hope we can get a bit of a crowd out there. We obviously only had 30,000 last week. I know Sydney's a bigger club, so we'll get more Swans fans out there, but as a Richmond supporter base, these are the moments we've got to show up for the boys. I know it's tough. No one wants to go and see your team lose, especially when it's almost a gimme, but it's all good and well to be there when we're winning and when we're playing good football and, supporting us then. But, what's the point if you're not going to be there when we're on the downfall as well? And these are the moments when sort of the fans are probably most important. The players will be pretty flat as well. We think we're flat right now. Imagine how the players are feeling that are going out there and dishing some of this stuff up. So let's get out there if we can. That's pretty much it in terms of the preview. Sorry, I'm all over the place today. In terms of the preview, obviously it's going to be an interesting watch. It's going to be like, look, if we're the way it's written on paper, things aren't looking good for us. But you've always got to be optimistic. Anything can happen in footy. You look at last year, for example. It wasn't our game, but West Coast at Marvel Stadium knocked over the Dogs when the Dogs are trying to play finals. And who would have thought that was going to happen? So look at it that way. It wouldn't be the first time we've needed to cause an upset against the Swans at the G. If you go back to 2016, Sammy Lloyd kicking the goal after the siren, and obviously they're one of a kind type results, but you just don't know in footy, And I thought we've been a lot more competitive than I expected against both Carlton and Port Adelaide the last 2 weeks. So why can't we be competitive again and and even give ourselves a chance? So I don't like to dive into the negativity too much. I try and be as upbeat as possible. Obviously, it's not always easy to do. I'm just looking at the notes to make sure I haven't missed anything. But yeah, obviously, it's not necessarily an easy thing to do, but I think you've got to be that way. Otherwise, it's too easy to get sucked into all that negativity and you just get down and you don't want to watch the footy and, it spirals from there. So that's pretty much it for the Swans preview. I hope you're going to get to the game. It's going to be a great one. I know it's an Easter Sunday. It's a tough fixture. But if you're around, you're not doing anything, you got some time off, get down to the G, support the boys. It'll be great. Hopefully we can get a win. I'd love to see us not go 0-4 and have a big win under Uze. It would just do so much for the confidence of everybody. And I think with the moment, I'm still believing, hopefully everyone else is too, not, necessarily that we're going to play finals exactly, but just believing that there's something there and that, we're not necessarily a basket case. So fingers crossed. Thank you again for watching. I really appreciate the support. Jump over to the Instagram if you get a chance, Tigerden_TV. Please I hate being the corny YouTuber that says this, but if you can give me a subscribe, a follow, a like, comment, whatever it is, it does genuinely help the channel grow heaps. And like I said multiple times, I'm trying to grow a bit of a community here, so I'd really appreciate it. So again, thank you for watching, and go Tigers.